to fact check. We were taught to seek facts, seek truth. That doesn't seem to be happening in today's time. And I wonder why. Am I the only one that's realizing or noticing this, or are you noticing this as well? Okay. And so, in that, I want to ensure the people that follow me and listen to me, I want to ensure that we continue to do the right thing, that we continue to not be manipulated by all the chaos and all the noise that is happening in our society today. All right. Now, where's Nicki Minaj is concerned, I been following her since she first came out before she was this big name. So we're talking back in 2008, 2009. And yes, I am older than Nicki Minaj. Little Kim and Foxy Brown, Queen Latifah, Trina, Mia X, those were the women, the hip hop artists, MC Light, that I grew up listening, Lauryn Hill, that I grew up listening to, right? But I took a liking to Nicki Minaj because I loved her style. And of course, at the time when she was coming out, hip hop for women, the female, the women started to kind of die down. And we're not sure why, but things silenced a bit when it came to women in hip hop. And Nicki Minaj came with such great energy. She took the game by storm, and she been running ever since, right? And so now I want to go back to when there were issues first between her and Little Kim, right? And some things that Little Kim has said about Nicki Minaj. I don't agree with it. I understand that Little Kim was hurt and frustrated by what has become of her career in hip hop. I clearly understand that. And I understand her feeling the need to lash out. However, some of the things that were said about Nicki Minaj left me to question, was there any truth and validity to what she said, or is it that she's speaking from a hurt heart, right? Now, I get it. Nicki has, Lil Kim, I'm sorry, has the fans that love her and patronize her, right? And we know Little Kim took the game by storm. Her and Foxy Brown, their first albums first dropped in 1996. They were about 2 or 3 months apart. Okay, Foxy Brown was another one. But I challenge what Little Kim had to say about Nicki Minaj and wanting to know if it was the truth, or is Little Kim's gripe really with Birdman, right? And so why I say that is that it is easy for society to make the woman the scapegoat, right? And I believe Little Kim was frustrated, whereas she felt that women who had lighter complexion always had better opportunities than her, right? And she's valid in how she feel and her experience. We should not negate anyone's experience. So her experience were valid. However, was she right in some of the things that she said about Nicki Minaj? The other thing is this: her fans did not like Nicki, and they said that Nicki copied Little Kim's style. I remember Nicki Minaj clearly stating that when she took those photos using the same poses as Little Kim, that she was paying homage to Little Kim. She has said it a million and one times that she's paying homage to Kim, and Kim was the only female hip hop artist that she knew that has had such a support and movement as Little Kim has had. And that is true. However, fans did not seem to give Nicki Minaj any slack or any grace, and they took Little Kim's side, and rightfully so. What I am talking about now is that the fans are now piling on to that issue. And now it has become lie after lie after lie. And I don't think people are paying attention to where all of this is also coming from. So let me bring you on to this as well. Remember that little Nicki Minaj signed to Young Money Records, right? Which is Lil Wayne's record label. Nicki Minaj was mentored by Deb, Waka Flocka's mother, and Deb, mentored her and made sure she told her, if you get a record deal, do not sign a 360 record deal, right? Most artists, or not, if not all artists has have a 360 record deal contract, and these artists are finding it hard to build wealth and have control over their artistry and their craft within these 360 deals. Of course, I've never seen a 360 deal, so I cannot tell you everything that is in a 360 deal. But what I can tell you is that artists does not have liberty on their own craft and their own money per the verbiage in that 360 deal. Lil Wayne, being an artist, understands that, so he did not allow, or he agreed to not let Nicki Minaj and Drake sign a 360 record deal. In that, Drake and Nicki Minaj has held up that record label, Young Money, for a long time, and they were the hardest working hip hop artists on that label. Now, Lil Wayne has gone through court issues with Birdman. Something tells me that the court issues that Lil Wayne was in with Birdman had a lot to do with him not allowing Nicki Minaj and Drake to sign a 360 record deal. And something tells me that the larger record labels did not approve of that and does not really care for that, right? Because they have their hand in everybody's money and in everyone's artistry. And this is not just hip hop artists, this is all artists, R&B, pop, rock and roll, heavy metal, jazz, you name it. Any artist that signs a record deal has the same record deal and is dealing with the same nonsense with these major record labels. So now, what I believe has happened is that these record labels thought that Nicki Minaj was hanging fruit because, see, women is always looked at as the easier target, and especially if you're a black woman, that's a double and triple whammy that you will be considered to be the easier target. And I think they thought that if they came for Nicki Minaj and they tire her out and they got fans and people to not support her, that her music will no longer sell. Therefore, getting her out of the way, and then we'll proceed to work on Drake. This has gone on for years. Other hip hop artists, female hip hop artists, have said over the years that Atlantic Records paid them or propositioned them to diss Nicki Minaj or come for Nicki Minaj. And some of them did not do it. They didn't agree to it. They like her and they support her because Nicki, being that long in the game, is very supportive of new artists that come into the game. But unfortunately, because there's a machine that's behind her trying to get her out of the way, people have been manipulated to thinking that if they worked with these labels and these people to get Nicki Minaj out of the way, then they will have that number one spot, right? So this has been an ongoing thing. And what I am witnessing is that society is not saying to themselves, it's been so many years and we're still doing this to Nicki. Let's do some research to find out if the things that we've been told and if what we've been hearing have been the truth. I have yet to see that from the masses of people that come for her. Now, you understand that when mobs of people continue to come for you and make things uncomfortable for you, you will become quite irritable. So now she is being accused of not being a nice person or a calm person, but the people are failing to put themselves in her shoes to understand that if they were being mobbed on for the past 10 years, how would their disposition be? Right? And for our community, the Black community that like to say, protect Black women at all cost. Is that all across the board, or does that only apply to Black women that you know? Right? It is so easy to undermine Black women, and it is so easy for society to believe and go with that plan. And I'm here to ask you, do you know why that is? So I'll tell you a little bit of that as well. Nicki Minaj is a great artist. She is versatile, right? She went to a school of performing arts in Queens. So in her music and a part of her act, there's theatrics and acting and, changes of her voice. She changes up her rap flows, right? She sings in her music. And we know Nicki Minaj is not the first one to sing and rap, right? Queen Latifah was the first to sing and rap. And then we heard Lauryn Hill. Nobody does it better than Lauryn Hill, right? My sister from Newark, New Jersey, where I'm from, right? But so we're not saying that Nicki Minaj is the first to do that. What we're saying, and Missy Elliott, we're not going to leave out Missy Elliott. Missy Elliott has done that as well. But what I'm saying is that Nicki Minaj is in that group. She's in that sector of people, of women who are not one dimensional. She's multifaceted, multi-talented, right? She doesn't have a one-track mind. When you listen to Nicki Minaj's music, you really have to go to school, right? It's her music is not just something that you will bop your head to. You have to really write down or pay attention to what she's saying and then Google to see what's being referenced, right? And so that reflects her entire the way she uses words. She uses words that rhyme. She uses words that are pronounced the same, but they have different meanings, like no, N-O, K-N-O-W, right? So they both have different meaning, but they sound and are pronounced the same. I forgot what you call that. It's a hemophone or something like that. I forgot, but we've learned that in elementary or grammar school as well of what you call that. However, Nicki Minaj shows that she has taken her education seriously because in her craft, she uses so many aspects of intelligence, so many aspects of a person who is well educated or knows what she's talking about and knows what she's doing. That counts for something, right? It counts for more than just something. And I get that there's people that don't like her music, but I wonder if these people have the intellectual bandwidth to understand what type of artist Nicki Minaj is, right? Um, Listen, it's one thing to not like a person and say, I'm just not going to listen to their music. And it's another thing to say, I don't like that person and I want to have a hand in ensuring that they don't survive or ensuring that they don't live a comfortable, peaceful life. You want to have or have a hand in saying that I don't think this individual deserves grace. Those are different things. And I don't think society is under what you're doing is crossing boundaries. Yourself autonomy and agency over someone else's life and well-being. That's crossing physical boundaries and it is also crimes committing crimes against humanity. And so this is where we need to reel things in as a society. And those of you who follow my page, who are listening to this video, I hope you're listening with an open mind, as in to say, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Right now, what we're seeing about her, and it's not just Nicki. As I said, I'm just returning to YouTube, and we have a lot to catch up on. I just started my first video of 2026 talking about Nicki Minaj, right? But what we're experiencing is a lot of plagiarism. We're experiencing a lot of lies. People make up things and people are believing it and running with it. These are dangerous times that we're in. Why I'm saying that is because people easily believing things that are not true and having strong opinions about those things that are not true, and then strongly are convinced that they need to make decisions based off of these things that they believe that are not true, makes it extremely difficult for the person that is being convicted to prove their innocence. And so now what we have is a society that's playing judge and jury with other people. That we're on the brink of anarchy. We're on the brink of civil war because not too many people are going to accept that, especially where if things happen to where their lives become in danger, their children's lives become in danger, their other family livelihood or lives become in danger, some people are going to resort to physical violence to distinguish or exterminate the threat. Okay. Now, I don't mean to talk in a sense of violence is okay, because violence is not okay. And we should not resort to physical violence. That should not be the first order. But what I'm saying is that what are we going to have to do for people to understand that they are extremely wrong? What is it going to take for people to have to understand that enough is enough? That the punishment does not fit the crime. If you look at what's happening, what I see is a lot of pathological people looking for someone to abuse. I have seen that on social media where people will provide proof, truth and facts in regards to things that are happening with Nicki Minaj, and they will override the truth and fact. And it's simple. The person did the research for you and provided you with truth and fact. You can also, or that individual or those individuals can also Google themselves to find out the truth and facts. Yet in all, they're comfortably rested in going with the lie. And I take that as there's two reasons for that. Number one, they don't like Nikki. And I understand it. When a person operates on great levels of intelligence and great levels of creativity, to where a person or people think and feel that they will never reach that level of success, they become envious and irritable. So they tend to shut down. They don't allow themselves to embrace and enjoy what you're offering the world because they continue to assert themselves in a competition with you where there needs to be none. So in that, people are secretly wishing for your downfall, secretly wishing for her downfall, because the other thing with Nicki Minaj is this: when you listen to her lyrics, you understand that she's a challenging woman and she has boundaries, right? Her life, it doesn't. She sells sex and sex appeal and sensuality, right? But she doesn't live it, and because they live opposite to her. So what I find with people is also when they don't relate to you, they also think there's not a thought process that says, okay, I don't relate to Nikki, but there's other people that relate to her. I'm not going to listen to her music, but for the people who like her, let them listen to her music. That thought process is not crossing the minds of the people that are convicting her and continuing to badger on her. The other thing is this: people have been saying, and this is to tell you that People have short term memory, right? After she married Kenneth Petty, which I believe she married him in 2019 or 2018, some people are saying that she's going through this because she married Kenneth Petty, and Kenneth Petty is a pedophile and so on and so forth. No, Nikki's been dealing with this since 2015. Didn't they have a funeral to bury her in 2017 at the Summer Jam, where Cardi B, Remy Martin, and Queen Latifah, there were plenty of people there. I don't know who performed on the stage, but I do know that plenty of other hip hop artists was there in 2017, and there was a funeral to bury Nicki Minaj at Summer Jam, and that was allowed to happen, right? That was like a ritual. That's like a spiritual ritual, which we'll get into at another time, right? So Nicki has been dealing with this before she married Kenneth Petty, right? And so now people want to what happens with people is they don't like to be held accountable for their actions, so they're always seeking for other reasons and excuses as to why they're abusing someone, as if God left them in charge to inflict pain on other people, right? And if they think that that's the way of the world, then why isn't it happening to them, right? Who said that they had the level of clarity and level-headedness to where an unconscious, because you have to have, in order to be judging people like that, you have to be good with self-awareness. You have to understand that we all have unconscious biases, right? Those are biases that are stuck in our subconscious. We don't realize that they're there, right? So there are biases that are there that you have, and then there are the unconscious biases, much less the unconscious. And what I'm seeing is the people that are judging her to that degree and wanting to inflict this kind of pain and misery on her are the very same people who lack the self-awareness and who don't realize that they have unconscious biases to deal with, and they don't face their own biases. These are all the wrong people. They are the wrongest, the strongest, and the loudest about things that are happening in this world. Yet, mum's the word, they're very quiet for things should be speaking on. They're very quiet, right? Like child molestation, like human trafficking, like what R. Kelly did with the girls, like what Diddy has done. These very, I'm pay attention. These very same people are giving grace to Diddy and R. Kelly, but Nicki Minaj has no grace. Here's another reason why Nicki Minaj has no grace. Besides her level of greatness and her work ethic, right? When you look at Nicki Minaj's work ethic, this supersedes her being a woman and a man. Her as a human being, there's not many people in the hip hop industry that has the kind of work ethic that Nicki Minaj has. And I say again, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. That's number one. Number two, whenever we see another person doing their thing, that person is a mirror to us. And what I mean by that is this is what that individual mirrors. They mirror everything that we are and that we aren't doing. I'll say that again. That they mirror everything that we are and aren't doing. Nicki Minaj mirrors everything that we are doing and everything that we aren't doing. So, what I mean by that, if we are eating junk food, if we're lazing around, if we're not researching, if we're not improving ourselves, watching her continue to consistently work shows us that we're not doing what we need to do to consistently be moving along and working, right? It also shows us that we're not we are doing the wrong things and we're not doing the right things. Let's put it that way. We are doing the wrong things, which does not propel us, and we're not doing the right things or the things we need to do to propel us. That's what she mirrors. And people not liking to see or don't sit well with what they're seeing about themselves project what they feel about themselves onto her. They're tired of seeing her because every time she speaks, raps, come across the stage, people are reminded that they're not being their best selves, right? Her lyrics, she clearly, you clearly understand that Nicki Minaj is not she's not a victim to no one, right? And her lyrics reflect that. Many people have allowed themselves to be victims. Now, here's what, now bear with me when I say that. Hear me out, right? Because nobody wants to be a victim, and no one is going to put their name on a piece of paper and say, hey, make me a victim, right? However, in order for you to not be a victim, you have to have courage, grit. You have to have wherewithal. You have to stand 10 toes down on this about you and your self agency, and you have to not back down when it comes to you. You know how many people have backed down? You know how many people betrayed themselves because they didn't have the courage or the grit to speak up for themselves? But Nicki Minaj continued to show that she has what it takes to speak up for herself, not let people pull her down, not do things just for people to like her, but do things that she wants to do to experience and express, have different expressions and elevated expressions of herself in the world. She continues to do that. And she continues to be happy with herself with these different and many expressions of herself. She continues to show the liberty and the freedom that she has of being herself. That mirrors to you how many times you've betrayed yourself. And that's not a good feeling, right? Right? You know, what do you think about yourself? How do you feel about yourself when you are, presented with this mirror that certain things happened to me. I didn't speak up for myself when I was supposed to, and oftentimes because of that, you don't get to progress and do the things that you want to do because now there's a shadow hanging over you. When you don't speak up for yourself, there are other people that are going to take certain positions and they're going to ensure that you don't make it to where you want to make it, right? And so those are the things that we need to think about as well. This hatred that Nicki Minaj is receiving is a lot of projections that people are doing onto themselves. And just like I said before, when people operate to great high levels of greatness, many people begin to understand that they will never reach that level of success and greatness. And that turns into envy and hatred, right? Excuse me. The next thing is she's a woman. That's my orange juice. And a black woman at that. Society don't like and will not tolerate powerful women who have freedom. Right now, there's a lot of women in powerful positions that have been compromised. Society don't like and show great hatred for women who cannot be compromised and who is powerful, right? Because of this patriarchy and misogyny that exists in the world, there is a notion that women are here for the needs of others. Women are here to be laborers, not just to give birth, emotional laborers, supporters, think tankers, those who give up their intellectual property to help other people succeed. Women are looked at as helpmates to children, other women. And when I say other women, I mean there are other women, classes of women in this world who have the same mentality as the people, as the men that we call misogynistic and patriarchal, right? And this is why I say that patriarchy is not just limited to men. That that whole system is upkept by people that have antisocial personality disorders. That means that that system is upkept by people that are malignant narcissists. They have the dark triad personality, psychopaths, sociopaths, any cluster B personality disorder. Anybody with an antisocial personality or cluster B personality disorder will upkeep a patriarchal system. That means both man and woman, because there are women, equal women who have these disorders to men. They just show up in the world in a little different way, right? And so women who have these personality disorders will also view themselves as superior to other women and think that other women are here to serve them as well, right? So when you are a woman who don't possess that type of personality disorder, and you don't allow yourself to be abused and victimized or compromised, yet you're still powerful and creative beyond measures, society will hate you, right? Because society don't want a woman who has not been compromised running around here freely expressing herself and freely empowering other women, right? Because then that's going to throw off the system for those who uphold patriarchy. And so now they will have a problem with that, because once people are educated and they understand how to advocate for themselves, and that no, they are not here to be helpmates and laborers for other people, right? Other people need to hold their own weight. Now, there's nothing wrong with supporting a friend or an associate, or helping people with what you choose to help people with. This I am not speaking about that. I'm speaking about the air of entitlement that some people have, where you are restricted to just doing that. And when you want to do things for yourself and elevate yourself, they have a problem with that. And in that, they will do things to ensure that you don't elevate, and you don't realize that that's happening to you, right? And so that's what I'm speaking about, the mentality where they cannot accept that you have dreams of your own, and you have wishes to do things for yourself and elevate yourself. Some people can't accept that, and they can't fathom that for you, because whatever is in your brain, your intellectual property, has to be funneled to them. They think that they're here to siphon your energy and siphon all your gifts and all your wisdom and everything that you know, right? And so Nikki is showing that she's a woman that has boundaries. They say that she's not a woman's woman, right? And so, or she's not a girl's girl, right? But what I look at is the women that many of these women are saying are women's women, or girl's girl, however you want to call it. These are the very same women that abuse other women, disrespect other women, cross the boundaries of other women, right? If you How many of you have witnessed where if you put up a boundary, that other woman don't like, they don't like that. You put up a boundary like you don't take calls after 8, or excuse me, whatever your boundary is, as long as it is your boundary, don't benefit them, they have a problem with that. And then those are the very same people that say that they're girls, right? So what I realize is that the women who say that will say that about women that allow themselves to be used, that allow them other people to siphon their energy. So once people think and know, once people are comfortable that they can hold themselves up off of your support and off of your energy, they're going to give you that jacket and say, "Oh, go girl, you're a woman's woman." No, you know, we're all grown and we're all here to live our lives, right? Um, and what these people don't understand is that when they're siphoning your energy, where are you going to get the energy from to survive and live? And see, this is why people who have their energy siphoned and those who are put in those situations where you're the laborer from other people for other people, look at your life. Are you thriving? Are you doing the things that you want to do? We don't have that much energy to give to other people to that degree and still have to elevate ourselves. Some people, some women will, that they can never be anything more than what they are. So they continue to be in that role. And I'm here to let you know that you don't have to be in that role. You don't have to be in that role. And you can very much um, be great. You can very much, starting today, start to implement boundaries for yourself, right? And so, what was the other thing I wanted to talk about, Nikki? When I said, with her, yes, society not wanting women that's not compromised to be running around here freely. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Young Money record label. If you noticed, when they realized that they couldn't bring Nicki Minaj down, they went on to Drake. That's by design. That's not a coincidence, right? And Drake. So both of them, Nicki Minaj to date has the highest grossing tour. Her Pink Friday 2 tour is the highest grossing tour for any female hip hop artist in history. And Drake, I forgot which tour it is, but Drake has the highest grossing tour of all male hip hop artists. Both of them were Young Money talent, and was signed to that Young Money record label. So it's clear that Drake and Nicki Minaj understood the assignment, and they understood that they needed to work to uphold and keep Lil Wayne's record label alive, right? But it was just the two of them, right? So I don't know what's going to happen with Young Money, and then with Little Bit Wayne getting tied up into in court like that. But however, him getting tied up in court, he didn't have the liberty, and I think that was in the contract. He couldn't put out music, so hence why Little Wayne did not put out music for years, right? And so the label was being upkept by Drake and Nicki Minaj, right? So, oh yes, Basim, you're absolutely correct. So he says nobody can come close to Nicki or Drake, and that's why they're mad. You're absolutely correct, right? So I don't know if you were here earlier, Basim, but I talked about Nicki Minaj's work ethic, and I'd be remiss if I don't speak about Drake's work ethic, right? And let's talk about their music. Their music, Drake's music is more than a bop. He has lessons in his music. He's melancholy, right? When you listen to Drake, he's very relatable, and he talks about things that we've all thought about. Right? So that's the thing with Drake, is we've all thought about these things that Drake is talking about, whether he writes his music or not, right? Or all of it or not. We know Nicki writes hers. However, I want to talk about Drake because he's one of those artists that anybody can relate to. He's really rooted and grounded in life. So a lot of things that he write about is not just from his perspective, it's from a life. Him and J. Cole, in my opinion, is on that accord where they speak from a life's perspective consistently. You have to give that to Drake. The other artist that consistently speaks to life in that way is Fabulous. And you know who else? Tech Nine. But Tech Nine is he's independent. And go figure, they're all Scorpios, right? So and I'm not saying they're all evolved, right? Because Future is a Scorpio, I believe, and he's not evolved. However, those three consistently speaks to life in a way that when you listen to their music, consistently every album that Drake has dropped, there are several songs on that album that I relate to as it relates to life. Nicki Minaj, however, she's like an acquired taste. And the acquired taste about Nicki is you have to have a similar mindset as Nicki to think in the ways that she think about herself and about life and about how she does things in life. And then she plays. She likes to have fun with her music. So that's where the voices and all that stuff come from. So people will think that she's not a serious or a smart woman. But what they don't understand, and I'm speak because I'm a Sagittarius. Nicki Minaj is a Sagittarius with a Virgo moon. I also have a Virgo moon, and I does that as well. And I've been like that since I was known myself, right? And so what we do is life for Sagittarians, problems is not problems that people make big deals out of. It's small time for us. It's small fry. So we handle it. We're proactive. We take care of it. We go on. It's nothing. So that's where our playfulness comes from. Nothing is in our way. We don't have any obstacles in our way, right? Anything that's an obstacle, we get rid of it. And oftentimes we're proactive so we don't handle ourselves and life, which is why it seems like everything is funny for us. We have time to laugh and joke around. But it doesn't mean that people think that we have this Peter Pan. No, we're not Peter Pan. Peter Pan was really childlike in the mind. Well, let me not assume because I don't remember the story of Peter Pan. But the way people mention Peter Pan, I take that as they look at us as people that is not serious about life and we don't know how to handle life and handle serious things. No, we're better at handling life and serious things than most people, or let's say many people. It's just that, like I said earlier, the way we see life, we tend to not run into many challenges and problems, right? The other thing is this: we will take the road of least resistance. If I say I'm going to go here and I set out to go here and I see all this clutter and all this stuff, you know, I take another route. You have some people that they set out to go there and what they do, and that's their skill set. They double down, head down, and they go and they make people part way. People will clear way. With us, we don't expend our energy in that way. So we don't force people to. Now, when we do force people to, is when we're angry. That's if a fight is about to break out. Now, when we get to that point, that's when another side of us is going to come out because we give so many grace and chances that when we get there, people will part ways. But other than that, we're not going to do that. It doesn't make sense to us. Yet again, that's something that we laugh about and move along. We're not going to put up with. So it just doesn't make sense, right? And so I'm sorry. What uh, I think labels want their own Nicki or Drake. They have been trying to replace them for years now, but they always fail because they have such a diehard fan base that cannot be replaced. You are absolutely correct, Basim. And the other thing is this: let's face it, a lot of people have a lazy work. They don't have good work ethic. Little Wayne was another one that had great work ethic, but we know him. He's the founder of Young Money, right? So let's look at the hip hop. Let's look at hip hop. Who I don't know how old you are, right? But I'm 49, so I want to talk to the people for the people in my era. So before me was KRS-One, MC Shannon. Them. I think KRS-One had pretty good work ethic because he was consistent. But I want to move away from that group because they are older than me. Let's get with your DMXs and your Jay Z's and Nas and everybody, right? So out of Jay Z, DMX, now we have Nicki Minaj and Drake. Five. The Ghetto Boys. Scarface was a part of the Ghetto Boys. Were they that consistent? Ice Cube and them, they were consistent. Death Row, over there at Death Row 6, and it's more than six. Well, I don't think Snoop wasn't that consistent either. Well, he was. So Snoop Dogg was consistent. Dr. Dre was consistent with making the music. But listen, out of all the artists, hip hop artists that exist, let's look at the numbers that I'm putting up. Right. So people drop because Nas have been dropping music over the years, but Nas is not as consistent. Nas will drop an album like every 2 years or so. Right. And then he's not on a lot of remixes. right? So the remixes, Nas is one of those people that if he, he fool with you, he'll get on your remix. But let's look at, if you look at Nas's career, you probably can count on your hands how many remix or features he was on. You can't count on your hands how many features and remixes that Nicki Minaj and Drake has been on. You can't do it for Lil Wayne or Jay Z. So when these labels, like you said, are trying to replace Drake and Nicki Minaj, and that's because Drake and Nicki Minaj did not sign a 360 deal, right? So Lil Wayne did not let them sign a 360 deal. We all know that Nicki Minaj was mentored by Waka Flocka mother, Deb, and she told her about that 360 deal. These record labels are so greedy that they want their hands in all aspects of your wealth and even your creativity. So with Nicki Minaj and Drake, that didn't happen because they didn't sign a 360 record deal. And that's why they're being targeted. So these labels feel like think that they're going to make another Nicki and Drake, which you can't, because artists have to have good work ethic, and they don't. Nicki Minaj have said it that she'll go in the studio ready to work and people are sitting around smoking and drinking. Well, if you're smoking and drinking, when are you going to start writing? You're not, by the time, by the time the studio hour is up, and then you pay for studio time, right? So if you paid for an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, what are you doing after you've done, you had a good time and you partied? You're not going to write anything. So in that, you've wasted money and you've wasted studio time, and guess what? You've also wasted your time, and you're not putting out music because studio. Nicki Minaj made it clear that she never went in any studio and wasted any time. She understood that she didn't have money to waste. So whatever she paid for that studio time, something had to be made out of it. Something has to come from it. That's what she understood, right? And so no one can teach you that. People can teach you that. You either have to know it or they have to teach you that, right? So the thing with Nicki is she a lot of these things that she knew that other artists come into the game and they don't. Kanye West is another one that's consistent. Again, we gonna another artist, right? And he's another one that's different that gets attacked. Right. So now the other thing is this. I want to move on to this in our community, the black community, right? We have this thing, and I need you all to dig deep to find out where this is coming from. But we have this thing. I got an idea of where it's coming from, but I need you, when you have self-awareness, one thing with self-awareness is it affords you the ability to self-reflect. And the more you self reflect, the less you judge and point the finger at other people. Because now you would have conditioned yourself to checking yourself, checking in with self. When something goes away that you question, you say, "Hey, Arlene, what's going on? What am I thinking?" You start questioning yourself before you start judging other people, right? So I forgot why I even said that about the judging other people. But oh yeah, this is why I said that. Our community have this thing, whereas if you don't always show up militant and talking about the white man and slavery and what the system is doing to the black man and all of these things, if you're not talking about things like that, or chaos and drama, you're not liked. It's two things that will get you respect in the black community. You have to be talking about the Willie Lynch and slavery and what they have done to us and all of that. Or you have to be talking about drama. I slept with your baby mama. That's why I slept with your dude. I was at your house when you was at work. He brought me to your house. I saw your drawers. I saw what you had in your kitchen. I went in your bedroom. See that kind of stuff? That kind of stuff gets you mad likes and respect in our community. Huh? But anytime an individual, a black person is introspective and speak to life in the way where there is accountability, you're not liked. Why is that? You're not liked. People don't want to support you. Not only that aren't you not liked and not to have a hand in making sure that you're destroyed. And I ask, why is that? Because that's a part of life too, right? So I'll give you a little bit of why that is. Of course, with us, we have this notion where our beginning comes starts with our beginning doesn't start with slavery, right? And there were black people that were already here in the United States of America, right? And we do know that they were on the boats through the slave trade, right? But even when our ancestors were in Africa, their beginning didn't start with slavery. Excuse me. We understand that the system is racist. It's systemic. It's not as overt as it used to be. Now there's a lot of covert operations, right? They have gotten savvier over the time because they clearly see now with all these different people that are in the United States of America, they can't overtly just do things like that. People will see you for who you are, right? So we understand that. But why is that a never-ending story that our people need to continually hear? And if you don't speak to that, they don't want to hear you. Whereas you're given, when you make it to be a household name where people know you, you're given this grand responsibility that you need to represent yourself in that way and speak to these issues. Listen, listen, listen. There are other people in our community that are household names that have made to that level who do speak to this issue, right? With us, our community has this notion that all black people must be, that you're a sellout, and there lies the problem. You know why there lies the problem? There's many, a lot of us in our hood, we didn't grow around white people, right? Some of you have never met white people a day in your life, but we're constantly talking about them. And for many of us, we started to integrate with them when we started working, getting into our careers, right? But the first problems, the first colorisms and, you know, isms and schisms and all these things that we've experienced has been by our own people in our communities. And but we don't talk about that. Why? Excuse bad behavior and wrongdoing done by our own by giving it this notion that it's learned behavior and we've learned to become this way because of the white man and because of slavery. That is an ongoing thing as well, where there is almost like a refusal to see past that. And they, no, brother, you are not right. There's a refusal to say you are not right. Let's stop talking about. So here's why I say that, because Jay Z get a lot of disrespect as well. But Jay Z, Nas don't, but Nas speak to those issues. Jay don't speak to those issues in the way that Nas does, and he doesn't get the same love that Nas does. Nicki don't speak to those issues in that way, right? So how she addresses life is by circumstances, and she doesn't say these types of things on her records. But when you listen to how she's rapping and the things that she's talking about, if you're critically thinking, that's another thing that's a lost art, critical thinking, right? Remember when we were in school and we learned problem solving? Problem solving does not only apply for those math problems that were hidden in paragraphs when we were in school. The same thought process that you used to solve those math problems in problem solving studies in school is what we should be applying to life. We should be applying problem solving to life. And in that lies thinking skills. Critical thinking is a skill. Higher order thinking is a skill. Communication is a skill. Anything. We are communicating things to teach, and gain information. It is an exchange. We're not just talking at people to just be talking, right? Some people do, and I'm not talking about those people. But the purpose of communication is much deeper than that, right? And it's imperative for us to know this so you can have an understanding of the different types of artists that present their art before you, right? And if this artist's work is not for you, it's okay. Just don't listen. But getting back to Nikki and the hate that she has been receiving, it is something to be studied. We need to study it. Why is it okay for our community to continue to dogpile on women and black women at that? The other thing is this. I'm not, you guys are not low. You're not low. There's a lot that goes on in the black community that we all don't like. The problem goes back to courage. Many of you don't have the courage to speak to those issues because you don't want to get blackballed. You don't want something to happen to your family and so on and so forth. And I'm talking about the things like with Diddy and Epstein and Cosby, not Bill Cosby, R. Kelly and so on. You won't speak to that because you're afraid of whatever the repercussions may be. But it's real easy to project your frustrations and anger onto Nicki Minaj. Some of these things that you're out here talking about Nicki Minaj about, you really got Diddy and R. Kelly in your head. But knowing the things that Diddy is capable of and the things that Diddy is capable of paying other people to do, you don't want to be a victim of that. And you go hard on Nicki. And that you should be ashamed of yourself for. I have absolutely no respect for that. None whatsoever. You'll have people that sit here and say that Nikki, oh, she's turned to Trump and she's going against her interests. But when she reached out to Gab Newsom over there in her state, he told her to hire more security, and he's bumping or Cardi B or whatever the case may be. Why did he involve himself in hip hop and not involve himself in his job? She lives in his state, and it is his duty to make sure that she is safe. But he's clearly showing that you can like Cardi or whoever you like more than Nikki. So I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when they were swatting her house, they swatted her house 3 times, right? And when she reached out for her safety, you didn't ensure that her life would be safe. You didn't handle that situation with any type of seriousness, right? And so now that she switched sides and she's over there supporting Trump and getting support by the Republican Party, now our community has more reason piled on to not like her. And what I'm noticing is that every couple of years, every plateau that Nikki does, that every move that she makes to better position herself or better protect herself, if it comes with a negative, because everything has its pros and its cons. So if it comes with its cons, our community hang on to the cons and act like everything else that you were lambasting her about is erased, and you talk about this. And what I mean by that is saying, oh, she wouldn't be going through this if she didn't join a side with Trump and join Trump. Where have you been? She's been dealing with being lambasted since 2015. What are you talking about? Nobody who spoke up for her, right? And so people are saying, well, she has a nasty attitude. No, Cardi B has a nasty attitude. I've seen the things that Cardi B has done to that beautiful black sister on Love and Hip Hop. I know Cardi B as long as I know when she came into the game as well. I listened to her old YouTube videos. I saw her in Love and Hip Hop. This was years back, not now. Not when she made that Bodak Yellow. No, I'm talking about way before that, when she started getting a buzz. Because this is what kind of person I am. Person is coming out and they're gaining a buzz and people are talking about them. I go look them up to see who they were back in the day. What kind of work you did back in the day? Who are you? So when I talk about a person, I know what I'm talking about. I'm pretty consistent. I'm not just hip on them now, right? So with Cardi, I saw that she had a nasty attitude back then, and she always had a thing with disrespecting darker skinned black women, right? This is the other one thing I want to talk about. I know you want to say that Cardi is black, right? But they're both mixed. Her and Nicki is mixed, but Nicki is more black than Cardi. I want to know, why is it okay for Nicki to be disrespected, but Cardi to have so much grace? Why? I see so many comments of people saying, "Oh, Cardi, she's so real. She's so relatable. I love her. She's funny." Well, Nicki Minaj is real and funny to me too. I relate to Nicki Minaj when she's being quirky and silly, and I relate to her. And there was never a time where I seen Nicki Minaj throwing a shoe at somebody else. And I'm not talking about when Cardi threw that shoe at Nicki. I'm talking about when Cardi threw that shoe at that sister from Love and Hip Hop. I'm talking about when that sister was explaining herself, Cardi's and not giving her the opportunity to speak, trying to shut down the conversation when she. And why do you all think that Cardi B? It's all emotional abuse. It's emotional manipulation. Oh, that's the bell. It's emotional abuse and emotional manipulation when I hear Cardi B talk. So when people use emotional abuse, what makes you think that they're telling you the truth? Like, the truth does not need any manipulation. It doesn't. Now, some people speak with conviction and others don't. Now, the person who speaks with conviction, that's because it's coming from their soul. It's coming from the wise part of them when they tell the truth, right? So, but that's not manipulation. That's pure conviction. But Cardi B doesn't have pure conviction. The other thing is that with all of this drama that, and you're giving her this much, listen, I said this before. Somebody else, I answer that because I'm on live. But I've said this before. Cardi B is also a mirror. Like Nicki Minaj is a mirror, Cardi B is a mirror. And with people are more comfortable with Cardi B because she's right where everyone else is at. She's not elevated in a way where she makes people feel uncomfortable about themselves, right? She's stewing in the pig dirt and mud, just like others who want to stew in the mud. So they don't feel, when they look at Cardi B, they don't feel like doing bad in life or doing good in life. They feel like, oh, hey, here's my equal. With Nicki Minaj, people will start to feel like maybe I'm not doing enough, or maybe I'm doing bad, because she keeps pushing the bar high. She sets the bar high. Cardi B doesn't set the bar high. The other thing is this. Remember, I said earlier, thinks that women, especially desirable women, if you're a desirable woman, if you're Asiatic, your face card, you're beautiful in the face and you have the shape. We all know that Nicki Minaj got the butt and the breast implants. We know that. Okay, but she's, she's desirable in other ways. Society thinks that desirable women are here to have children and to be on your back and to be in the kitchen, your back, your knees, the kitchen, that you have no place in this world elevating and doing big and great things. Right? So Cardi B, being the woman that she is, a lot of men like her because you have a lot of men in our community that don't take care of their children, and they have kids all over the place by different women, and they don't get held accountable. Cardi B, being a pick me and being male centered, doesn't have the structure, the personal principle, and the personal integrity to hold anyone accountable, because she's playing this game that's been in existence before she was born, and this game that is made for her and all other women to not win. She's playing a game that has already been rigged for her to lose, and she thinks she's gonna win at this game. And so, see, men like that, men that don't have integrity, that don't care about being responsible, not all, but the ones that don't care to be responsible, like your Future, that have kids by all these different women, and he's not being accountable or responsible for these kids. See, men like that would like a Cardi B because her playing the game, being a pick me, not realizing that you're giving men like that exactly what they want. And they get off scot free by pleasuring themselves off of you and dropping a seed in you if you let them. And people like Cardi will, and then going about their business. So they just, laying seeds, pleasuring themselves, and going about their business, getting to live life and making a mess everywhere they go and not being held accountable. No accountability, right? So in that, a lot of men support Cardi as well, where they won't support Nicki. Because as we can see, Nicki didn't have she didn't get pregnant until she got married, right? So if she didn't get pregnant until she got married or had a child, let's say that, and kept the child until she got married, she wasn't allowing herself to be slept around and moved around like that. And so many men don't like that because a lot of toxic, and it's not toxic masculinity, it's toxic men who have these personality disorders that I spoke about earlier. Men like that feel like you're here to serve them. And when you don't move in a way that serves them, the mentality is, who do you think you are? Right? Who do you think you are, getting to be free and having the liberty to express yourself and live your life for you? Every time you live your life for you, this is like a slap in the face to them. Like, you offended somebody. Nicki Minaj is offending a whole lot of people because she's living her life for her, on her terms, and not allowing herself to be used, misused, abused, disrespected, all of that. See, the things that y'all are doing to Nicki and disrespecting her is on the outskirts, I guarantee you. And here's why I say that. You cannot disrespect her and stay within her orbit. You won't have access to her. She will cut your ass off. And that's what society don't like. Cardi B, you will disrespect her, and you will have access to her. You know why? Because her ego is big. She has a Aries moon, right? So Libra with an Aries moon, can you imagine? A lot of ego, a lot of narcissistic ego. So in her mind, she's gonna play the game bigger and better than you. So every time you swing, she's planning on how she's gonna swing back times three. She don't understand that the game is rigged. So you'll be in her face and in her space, continually disrespecting her, and she thinking that she'll get you back the next time, not understanding that she's allowing herself to be disrespected right now, and she's bringing herself down right now. She doesn't understand that. She doesn't understand that, or maybe it's not for her to understand. Maybe it ain't in her spirit, in her personal principle structure for her to understand that. But see, Nikki is not the type of woman that can accept that kind of shit. She couldn't accept it. She's the type of woman that if she's in circumstances like that, her soul will die. You will see her slowly but surely dying. She cannot live a vibrant life, love herself, and be confident in herself, allowing these types of things to happen to herself. That's why she moved the way she moved. And society, we're too up in age. Now I can see for the people as young, 15 years old, 20 years old, you don't really know life that much yet. I'll give you an excuse. Once you get in your 30s on up, you should be able to see that because you would have lived life enough and have experienced people. People have experienced you. You know what it feels like to be disrespected. You know what it feels like when people are playing in your face. People all around you, they got this plan, but you don't know that they have this plan and they played in your face. You know what that feels like. And in that, you learn, okay, listen, I'm gonna have to things back so I can have some tabs on my life to ensure this type of thing doesn't happen again. That's when you have some self-love and some self-respect. Some you start doing that because you don't feel good with yourself when those types of things happen to you, especially when you know that you could prevent it. It doesn't sit well with you, right? And so all of this lambast, this lashing that Nicki Minaj is receiving from people, none of these people are saying to themselves, hey, but if Nicki did things the way we wanted her to do things, would she be happy with herself and with her life? You know why you're not asking that? Because a lot of you, like I said earlier, didn't have the courage to have the agency for yourself. and you've allowed other people to put their wills on you. Many of you are not living the life that you want to live, and you're angry inside. You're angry. But because you've rested to thinking that this is how life is. There's so many people that are not living the life that they want to live because someone has a heavy hand on their life, and because many of you don't have the grit to speak up for yourself and get those people up off you and off your life, right? So you're angry with your life and angry with having to live out your life in this type of way. You don't think that you can change your life right now. However, you seeing Nikki live her life in the freedom that you're angry as well. You're saying to yourself as well, who do you think you are? If I had to do it, I can't live the life I want to live. Why do you think you should live the life you want to live? You shouldn't live the life you want to live. I'm stuck living the life I don't want to live. I don't want to live this life. That's what a lot of you are saying. You don't want to live your life. And you're projecting your inner anger and frustrations onto her, opposed to saying, hey, see her as a beacon of light. Hey, she's doing it. What can I do to get some of that courage? What can I do to start setting up a strong foundation for myself to prop myself up so I can move myself aside and away from up under the grips of somebody else? You see, this hate will move away when many of you will start to get happy about your own lives. You will start to feel happy for people who live their lives in freedom and bliss. Get that hatred out of your heart. But all of these lies that you're telling on her is not true. It's not. It's not. And this is Women's History Month. It's not true. It's time to shake up and ship up. Get it together. See things for what it is, not for what you want it to be. Perception, although they say perception is reality, perception is not reality. You know why? When you live in a delusion of your own perception, there's a reality happening around you that continue to show you that yours is wrong. If you want to live by perception as reality, you have to be confined to your own bubble. You can't make that somebody else's reality. It's yours. That's your reality because you're going off of your perception. But if you want to live by reality, crack that bubble. Where's a pen? Poke it. Poke that bubble. Get up out of that bubble. Look at the world. Look at the world. Look at the many opportunities and options you have. Sit with yourself. What can I do to get up out of this? I want to be happy. That's what you need to do. Because you know what? That's what Nicki did. When she sat back as a little kid and saw her stepdad abusing her mother, and she couldn't really do anything other than get in front of her mother and do this, and he moved her out of the way to keep beating up on her mother, she said to herself, there is a better way. There's a better life because I'm not living like that. I couldn't do it. That's what she's been telling herself as a kid. This is why her life is showing that now, right? Now let's look at the Republican Party supporting her. We're gonna get into politics in another video. It's time. I'm back, full force. I'm back. If you're in the state of New Jersey, if you're in the state of New Jersey and you need a civil or family and divorce mediator, you can reach out to me. My information is up here. If you need a notary and you're in the state of New Jersey, reach out to me. I am a remote online notary, which means I can notarize documents right from the screen. Or if you would want the official stamp seal with the stamp, I can drive to you, because with remote online, it's a digital seal. And I know some people are not comfortable with the digital seals, although it's official, and my digital seal have has my commission number on it. Anyway, you all take care for now, and we'll get up tomorrow or the day after. But leave your comments. Peace.